And this is how we are rolling this afternoon. The West African Examination Council, WASSCE, says every invigilator involved in infractions in the just ended WASSCE would be made to face the full rigors of the law. The council knows some breaches that were reported, including distribution of answers to candidates in the examination hall. We'll have in the studio head of public relations at WASSCE, John Kapi. But first, here are extras from that statement released by the examination body last night. And so this is what they have. The WASSCE successfully conducted the West African Senior School Certificate Examination for school candidates for the 2024 calendar. And according to WASSCE, the examination, which started on Monday, August 5, 2024, where the administration of visual arts project work ended on Friday, 20th September 2024. And I'm sure you've seen pictures of students jubilating and thanking God for seeing them through senior high school education. So, 460,611 candidates made up of 212,945 males and 247,657 females presented by 1,003 participating schools registered for the examination. So we had more females writing the WASSCE than males. And the examination was administered at 1,000 centers across the country. So that's the WASSCE statement, and we want to get more into the statement that they released last night, bringing to an end the WASSCE 2024. That's the West African Senior School Certificate Examination. And of course, so I mean, that is the statement as you have on your screen. You can peruse regarding what WASSCE says. Now, writing answers on board for candidates to copy, use of projector to display answers on the board for candidates to copy, and of course, use of mobile phone to take snapshot of questions and posting of same on social media. These are some of the things that WASSCE, put together in a statement that came to us last night. Let me bring in the head of public relations with the West African Examination Council, Mr. John Kapi. Mr. Kapi, you're welcome to the post.
Thank you very much.
And it's always a pleasure to have you.
It's my pleasure to be here too.
So BECE is done, WASSCE is done. Obviously, there's some kind of relief at the office.
Absolutely. Well, with us, there's no relief because we just started with the marking of the BECE scripts. That will take us up to the middle of October. And right after we release the results of the BECE, we are going to go into the marking of the WASSCE for school candidates. When that is done, we'll be conducting the WASSCE for private candidates second series. And so really between now and the end of the year, a number of activities would be taking place at the council. Okay,
so we'll come back to the BECE marking, but let's stay with the senior high school level examination. So your statement talks about the number of students that wrote the examination in their thousands. Yeah. And significant to note is the fact that we had more females than males at the WASSCE level. So how Herculean was it conducting this exam in 1,000 centers?
Well, we have 1,000 centers around the country. It was quite difficult. Difficult in the sense that we had to keep shifting monitors from one area to another. Thankfully, if you read our statement very well, we're expressing our gratitude to a number of whistleblowers.
Right.
Because a number of people in the general public are beginning to realize that things aren't going right. And for them, these are not things that should be entertained as far as education is concerned. And so they drew our attention. There were a number of them that we could not attend to, but the majority of them were able to attend to. And indeed, wherever we went, based on this information, we realized that certain things were not going right.
So we had people actually, they decided to give you prior information regarding irregularities that were happening in the places that they were.
Yes, there were some who gave us information even before the commencement of the examination. Others also provided information in the course of the examination. They would make calls and indicate that you go to this center and that center.
This is happening.
Yeah, this is what is happening. And indeed, when we sent our people out there, we realized that, yes, the reports that were coming to us were actually true.
And these are spirited guardians who, under no impulsion, decided to help the process?
Absolutely. None of them, they mentioned their names to me, yes, but of course, I mean, we had to get into some kind of agreement. There was no, compensation package for them. Maybe later on we'll think about something that we are going to provide for them. We didn't come to any contractual agreement. They just wanted to provide information because they were, I would call them well-meaning Ghanaians who felt that education should not, or assessment should not be conducted in the manner in which some of them were doing it.
Okay, so and would you say this is the first time you witnessed such such calls from Ghanaians you didn't know complaining about what was happening?
Oh no, last year we had people who called in to indicate that they had information about some of the areas where these things were going to happen. Before the BECE, we got to know about some districts with the collaboration or connivance of the district exams officer, to cheat. We sent our monitors that actually we got to know some arrests were made. And so this is not the first time. I think that gradually it's picking up. A lot more people are beginning to call us and then draw our attention to some of these things that are going on.
So how widespread was these irregularities?
Well, we talk about irregularities, we would look at the entire country. I wouldn't say there are exceptions because we didn't have monitors in some of the areas. So, for example, from the northern region, we only got a whistleblower. Okay, so we informed our branch controller who is in Tamale to follow up and see exactly what was happening there. In the Upper East, we did not register anything. In the OT region, we received information that certain things were happening. With them, we'll do what we call scrutiny when the scripts are in. So besides these three regions I've mentioned, all the other regions, we had our monitors there, we had our staff there, and they all reported cases of infraction in the course of the conduct.
So clearly people set out to cheat.
Well, you could say that, yes, because sometimes when it comes to these things, people are like, don't go all out and say the man is a thief. Maybe it was by mistake or something. But in actual fact, once you are engaged in that kind of activity, obviously you can be called a person who had in mind to do so.
So in terms of segregating the crimes, what did you witness more in the areas that you had monitors and the reports that you got?
What we picked up most, let me put it that way, because there are categories of, would be the concealed, prepared notes that candidates had on them. A lot of them had a little piece of paper on them. Others had small bits of revision notebooks on them. So those are the things that we found the most among the candidates.
Does this suggest that they have prior knowledge of the question?
In fact, I happened to be at one of the centers, and what I picked up had a relation with the subject, but nothing related to the questions that were in the question booklet at that particular moment. So we cannot say that they had prior information. I think that they were anticipating
that it would come.
Something.
But then they had the prepared answer with them.
Yes.
And they took it to the examination hall.
Yes, for the ones that I came across were sheets that had torn from their textbooks, because probably they felt that those were topical issues that could be, But then there were others also who would probably have carried along their prepared revision notes, and then others also who felt, there are always questions around this topic, so let me prepare this and then carry it along. So those are some of the things that we found out.
And apart from the prepared notes, what other infractions you identified?
So we had also an increased number of the use of mobile phones in the examination center.
Despite a repeated call that you shouldn't take it to the examination center.
Exactly. Despite all the calls, there was a particular center that I think they were writing integrated science, core mathematics on the day. Our monitors, when they picked up 15 mobile phones, at that sitting. Of course, this was what they could get. There are some of them who threw their phones into the bush.
Okay.
So the 15 were able to pick up, and a number of invigilators were also found with mobile phones on them. And when the phones were retrieved, we found out that they had taken snapshots of the questions.
This is the invigilator.
Invigilator, yes. So they had taken snapshots of the questions and they had posted them on some WhatsApp pages. And for some of them, they had received responses or answers to the questions. And I guess that was meant to be, sent to the candidates to assist them in answering the questions.
But perhaps the issue of having mobile phone on you, I mean, for the students, it was a no-no. I don't know about the invigilators.
It is a no-no for every single examination official.
regardless of the role you are playing.
From the supervisor down to the invigilator, nobody is allowed to carry a phone into the examination hall. All of this we did in the course of our interaction with them in the briefing programs that we held with the supervisors, district directors, and all those people. We insisted that no one should go to the examination center with a mobile phone.
And yet, you identified how many?
Well, for now, we have not put together the numbers, but that is quite a large number.
Does it mean that before having access to the examination hall, they were not searched?
Well, usually for candidates, we search them. Now, between you and me, we know very well that as adults who are coming to invigilate, you can just appeal. Please keep your phones over here. At a particular point, the supervisor was shocked that after all the appeals he had made, a particular invigilator still had the phone on him. So that tells you that there are some people who probably would have made up their minds that this is what we are going to do. So no matter the appeals you make, they still would not comply. And there are some people who probably would feel down-rated if you attempt to search them before they go ahead to do the invigilation, because they, as invigilators, have the mandate to search the candidates before they go into.
But the question is, if a candidate was searched before entering the examination center and a mobile phone was found on that person, that will not probably constitute a crime, because at that time he was yet to take the phone to the examination center.
Yeah.
So for those that you have issues with, those were the ones who found the phones with them at the examination center.
Exactly.
So that's why I asked about the kind of search that went on before they entered the examination hall.
Well, usually what we'll do at the briefing sessions would be to appeal to the invigilator supervisors, especially, that the new rule that we have now is for people to be, the candidates to be seated 30 minutes before the commencement of the paper. Now, this is to enable them to do all the pre-examination activities by way of searching, by way of ensuring that every candidate is assigned a desk, a chair, a well-lit environment where the environment is conducive for the writing of examination by anybody. And so our expectation is that whoever is there as an examination official at that particular moment would have conducted a search on the candidates before they went into the room. And then while they are seated, the invigilators come to the supervisor's desk, pick up the question papers, and go and distribute same to the candidates who are already seated in the examination hall.
So, you know, how many invigilators are under investigation for, you know, for taking mobile phone to the examination center?
Right now, it will be difficult to put a figure to that, because we've received a number of reports from our monitors from the field. Our own officers returned just over the weekend. We are still sorting out the reports that they've brought in. You know, so we are still in the process of compiling the list of those people who, you know, breached the mobile phone rule.
Does same go for the students?
Well, with the students, it's the same thing. There are some people whose reports we received. The monitors have a duty to send to us reports every single day. But with our own officers who are in the field, we wait for them to finish the exercise and return to Accra before they provide that. So again, that with the candidates also, it will take us a bit of time. But by the time we finish with all the processes marking, by the time we release results, we would have known the number of candidates whose results are cancelled because they, you know, went against the mobile phone rule.
And then, apart from the mobile phone, what else did you uncover?
One of the things that we uncovered this year was the use of projectors. And I can see you are surprised.
Yes, of course, because I was going to ask whether the projector was sanctioned by WASSCE.
No. If you read most of the publications we brought out earlier, even before we indicated that any communication gadget is not allowed anywhere around any of the examination halls. And so if you have a projector, obviously there's an opportunity for you to project something. What we discovered was that they had you have your lighting in the ceiling here right now. The projectors were concealed in the ceiling, but then the answers were projected directly on the board where the candidates could have, you know, access to see them and then copy from there. So the officer happened to get there and he, you know, gave us a very good video clip of whatever was going on there.
So this is clearly an entire school decision.
It's an entire school decision, yes.
Which school are we talking about?
We wouldn't want to mention the name.
What about the region?
Security. No, we want to keep that also secret for now. We'll come out with all the reports, because you see, one thing about the examination is that as a council, we work very closely with the Ghana Education Service. And so when we are about taking decisions regarding some of these, there are meetings we hold, and then we determine what goes out there, what is for maybe public consumption, not because we want to shield anybody, because certainly as for the sanctions, they'll certainly come, to whoever it is that breached any of the regulations.
I'm just taken aback by the boldness of such school to go to this extreme of, having a projector to help the students copy the answers. So obviously somebody answered the questions for the student, projected it on the machine, and then the students copied. Exactly. So this clearly was something that had been planned long before the examination.
Preconceived.
And obviously involved parents, the school authorities, and maybe the students as well.
It's a collaboration, because most of the complaints that we received, or most of the people who blew the whistle on the examination candidates or the areas where they had intentions of copying, indicated that various sums had been collected from the candidates. Mm-hmm. There were some, depending on which part of the country you are coming from, there were some that paid higher amounts than others. Some paid close to 1,000 Ghana cedis. Some paid 50 cedis per elective and 100 cedis per core paper. Mm-hmm. These are allegations that have been made. We have not discovered. It was only last year we were actually able to get to a center where a teacher was in the room there checking on who had paid and who had not paid.
So if you didn't pay, you are not going to
benefit from whatever. And these are things that you have parents complain to some opinion leaders, and they pass on the information to us. So you can tell that there are many people in our society who, would not condone this kind of behavior.
Exactly. So the projector, did you see it in just one center, or it was something you uncovered in other areas?
No, it was only at one center that we discovered this. All the reports that I've received so far, there's none that talks about the projector. Mm-hmm. The other area is the photocopying of, answers. Mm-hmm. That we have also videos, because our people saw them in an enclosure, making the copies, and then they took a video of that and sent it to us. So beside the projector, the next thing was the photocopy.
The photocopy, and this also a particular center was also across board.
Well, where the machine was actually discovered, it was just one center, but several other areas, they saw people with photocopied material on them. So that tells you that indeed there also it may have been done somewhere, just that we did not, or our monitors did not catch them in the act. But then the candidates had copies of photocopied material on them in the examination hall.
Are there other infractions that you can talk about before we zoom into what happens next?
So apart from the projectors that they use, the photocopying, the mobile phones, we've mentioned that one also, and then
you mentioned the projector,
the projector, then the concealing of material
yes.
on them. All right. So these are the major thing. Of course, teachers also. That one is also in relation to the use of mobile phones. Yeah. So basically, these are the areas that, with the reports I've received so far. And then writing answers on the board for the candidates to copy.
It's almost basically like the projector. Like the projector.
Exactly. But the projector is more of a high-tech level than with...
So obviously we'll come from a school that is high-tech.
Absolutely, yes.
And then some invigilators also decided to write the answers on the blackboard for the students to copy.
Exactly so, yeah.
So it narrows down to what may have happened before the exam. The collection of money. Let's prepare ourselves for the exams. And the students bought into this, and their parents as well. Now the question is, to what extent will this have effect on the integrity of the examination you just supervised?
Right, so what we are going to have to do is to scrutinize all the scripts from all of these centers. And indeed, some of the areas where we couldn't go, but we received information from some of these whistleblowers. Take, for example, if they say an area like Kotobabi, just to mention,
for example,
somebody calls and says that they are sending photocopied material into the examination hall. They are doing this. So we note the center. We know the center number. So in the course of the marking, we ask that those particular scripts be extracted and brought to us for further scrutiny. So that is where we would be able to ascertain whether indeed there was any such thing. Usually, what will happen is that you find the same material, running through all the scripts of the candidates. And then sometimes also you find out that if, for example, they did not write in a big hall, but they wrote in different classrooms. In one room where there are about 30 candidates, every single person writes
the same answer.
In another room, they write the same answer, but maybe a different question. So that tells you that something would have gone on in the course of conducting.
But before you conclude your investigation, there are ones that you have evidence to take immediate action. For example, the projectors where you found invigilators helping them in the answering of the questions. Is there immediate punishment for such schools and individuals?
Yeah, so first of all, for where the projectors were found, they were immediately moved from that center. That was the last paper they wrote over. The rest of the papers they wrote from another center.
You don't have evidence whether similar, tactic or similar strategy was used in the previous papers before you got to know of the projector the last time?
Previous papers, the only way we can get to know is when we start to do the marking.
Okay.
And then now that we know the use projectors for a particular paper, that probably presupposes that it was used in some other papers, and so we have a duty to go through those papers to find out. Then there was also one center where overwhelming evidence was found with candidates with so many mobile phones on them. And so they were
at the center during the examination period, and was never taken away from them.
It wasn't taken away from them. So the phones were picked up from them, and immediately a call was made to Accra. We looked for the nearest center around them, and we moved them also to that particular center. So those are the steps that we took in the course of the examination. Now, for every teacher who was found with a mobile phone, every teacher who was found distributing photocopied material, every teacher who was found doing anything contrary to the rules of the examination, were immediately handed over to the police.
How many did you arrest?
There's quite a number of them. Unfortunately, I should have picked up the statistics of what.
100.
I wouldn't. 100 would be too big.
About 50.
Yeah, we'll be talking about between 40 and 50. Dotted across
the country. Between 40 and 50 features acting as invigilators.
Invigilators, yes. There were others.
What about supervisors?
Supervisors. You see, the thing about it is that, if I may use this analogy, as head of the house, even if there's something that you are doing, you send your children to go and do it, and then you relax
and get a result.
In your lazy chair somewhere and watch them do it. So we don't have evidence of any supervisor, engaging in this. There was only at one center, our monitors they realized that the teachers were helping the candidates, and when they saw our monitors, they bolted.
The teachers?
Yeah, the teachers bolted. So the headmistress had to come and continue the invigilation till the end of the paper. And so, as I speak, she has sent us a statement confirming what our monitors have told us, and we've asked her to produce the teachers and report them to the police immediately for action to be taken.
So for the number of teachers arrested between 40 and 60, you handed them to GS or the Ghana Police Service?
To the Ghana Police Service first. Because the rule says that nobody should have in their possession any question in any form during the period of the examination. So if, for example, the paper is a 2-hour paper, apart from the candidate examination hall, nobody else should have the question paper in any form on them anywhere around the examination center. So anybody found with this kind of material certainly is committing a crime, and that is punishable by law according to the WASSCE Act.
And so for the students who were caught in the act, are they under the impression that there's an asterisk on their examination papers, or you do an investigation and communicate back to them?
Usually what we do is that when we come into an examination hall and there's a candidate who has foreign material on them, we stop you at that moment. We have a statement form for you. Indicate we found you with this, confirm that yes, we found this on you. So we take your statement, and then we also would ask the invigilator to corroborate whatever the candidate has written, and we ask the supervisor to confirm. All right, then that becomes our evidence that this candidate was engaged in this, and then you continue with your examination. So at the end of the paper, it's possible that whatever I'm picking up from you has no relevance with examination, or there may be some other reasons. And so when we finish and then we look at the merit of the case, then we choose what sanction we should apply, or maybe not to apply any sanctions at all.
And again, I will go back to my question to ask whether, in your estimation, you think you've conducted a very competent examination in view of all the negatives that you are highlighting, the integrity of the exam and the outcome of it. Is this something that we can trust and say that this examination that was conducted in an atmosphere of the highest form of integrity, and the students that will be graded got it on merit and not because they had external help?
Oh yes, we can go ahead and say that to a very large extent.
Despite all the flaws that we are.
Yes,
that
because what we are going to do is that wherever we got these reports from, we are going to have to scrutinize their scripts. And so it will take a bit of time for those people to have their results released. Those results are going to be released are those that you do the marking and realize that there's nothing untoward, they wouldn't have done anything. If you read our statement, we indicated that we applauded some of the supervisors, regulators, even candidates who are complying with all the rules and regulations governing the conduct of the examination. So yes, there are a number of them that did a good job, but of course also there are a few others who misconducted themselves.
But over the years, you've drawn home the need for people to be upright in terms of their approach to examination. It doesn't look like we are anywhere near, people learning to write instead of relying on external forces.
Yeah, I think it's something that our teachers should be doing, our educators should be doing. Let's put into the children that idea of confidence in themselves, that they are capable. We've taught you for 3 years. We've examined you internally for 3 years. What you are going to examine on externally is not different from whatever you have been examined on locally. And so go out there and you are capable of passing.
But the same teachers are the ones who are leading them astray,
for
want of a better word.
Absolutely. So what we can do going forward, again, from some quarters from within our own circles, people have discussed issues of the non-punitive, sanctions that come to the people. So if there are more punitive measures or some more punitive sanctions, people may desist from it. Also, if we're able to get people in the areas where they, we have more monitors around, they probably would reduce this. But you see, I believe that independently, schools should be allowed to run the examination and bring the scripts to us. Gone are the days when headmasters kept question papers in their offices. We didn't hear of some of these things, But unfortunately, the trend these days is quite widespread and it's quite worrying. And we need all stakeholders on board, because I would say that... Is
there ongoing talks between you and GES to deal with this matter, knowing very well that some of their members are the ones who are perpetuating this crime?
We've had interactions with Ghana National Association of Teachers. They have, expressed worry about this. They've told us how they've admonished their own teachers to desist from it, and then they have also gone ahead to mention some of the sanctions that will come. With the Director General, we have a very close collaboration with him. We have a lot of interactions. They are all aware of these things. At board meetings, these issues are brought up. And so, yes, the Education Service is very much aware of this. And so going forward, we believe as a council that we probably will have to come out with some suggestions, as to how going forward we would be able to curb these infractions probably.
Are there some that you can talk about now?
Well, for now, on our part, we think that if, for example, we have the power to recruit our own invigilators, not depending on GES to provide invigilators, and then we are paying them economic rates, right? I'll say economic rates because people would want to see what you are going to give to them before they go ahead and do this kind of job for you, so that when they know what they are going to get from it. Indeed, I would say that there are a number of teachers who are against this practice. And so they probably will form the core of people that we are going to use going forward, so that we pay them well. And any time that any infraction is reported, you are, removed, and then we apply the sanctions.
Let me ask about during the BECE, a number of arrests were made. Some. I don't know whether you follow up to check what has happened to those teachers and invigilators.
Yes, and all those that were picked up that were handed over to the police were actually charged to court. They were prosecuted. They were charged various sums of money.
And they were fined.
They were fined, yes.
And they were not given custodial sentence.
Well, there are alternatives. How do I even call it? It's either you pay a fine or in default you go to prison.
And someone would say that's not deterrent enough.
It's not deterrent enough because if you look at the amount of money that you are going to, 12,000 penalty units, that would add up to about 3,000 Ghana cedis. Then in the courtroom, they look for the money and pay you. I mean, it comes with a lot of, mockery, in quotes, to me. Yeah, because...
and is it possible those same teachers may find themselves back in the classroom to invigilate future exams?
Well, as far as we are concerned, whoever is engaged in this kind of thing should never come anywhere. And we have their names. Mm-hmm. Okay, so wherever they go, we have notified everybody that these people should not get anywhere near our exams anymore. Yeah.
What about sanctions for schools? For example, the school that you've identified to have used projectile, would there be sanctions for such a school going forward?
Oh, yeah. So there's what we call derecognition. So we derecognize you for a number of years, a minimum of 3 years. So that within those 3 years, you are writing at another center while we take a look at your structures again to see whether there are possibilities of you repeating this. Now, I must say that, look, on paper, you go and inspect, everybody will come out with a very clean sheet, but then you move away from them and then they start to do a number of things. And I would also want to add that we seem to have given our candidates a certain sense of entitlement when it comes to these irregularities. Why do I say so? At Odogono, for example, some students ran after a teacher and beat him up.
Because of what?
Because he was strict.
The teacher was strict. He didn't allow them to cheat.
Yes, exactly. And the cases with the police, as we speak, a number of the candidates were picked up, they were reported to the police, and so they report to the police every single day. This morning I had a chat with the said teacher, and we are in touch with him.
But those students, were they allowed to write the rest of the exam?
They had finished. That was their last paper.
And they decided to vent their anger on the teacher.
Yeah. So for such people, this is violence within that examination period, and there are sanctions for that. They could probably go without any results.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Then you guys have a lot of work to do.
A lot.
Somebody just sent me a text. He wanted to know, he said at the start of the examination, he heard it on radio that some students were late, so they missed part of the examination. For such students, did you provide an avenue for them to rewrite, or missing out means they lost out?
Yeah, missing out means you lost out on that particular examination because we have the school exam, we have the private exam. So for those who miss the opportunity of writing that particular paper on the day, they will have to probably register and write the WASSCE for private candidates. That is which registration is ongoing. It ends, on Monday next week. That's the 30th of September. So if they missed out on that particular paper, an opportunity is there for them to register.
I just want to make a bit of education on that, on the private examination. What is it about? Is it for private schools or those who are writing it privately?
No, those who are writing it privately. Previously, it was meant for workers who wanted to better one grade or another. But then this time around, there are also candidates who after school feel that they need to better one grade or the other. So they register for the private candidates examination. So they could register for this one. We are introducing another one that we call the PC1 or private candidates examination 1 that comes early February next year, so that those who want to gain admission into the university, but after they receive their results for the school exam, they may need to do some remedial. They can do that and then use those grades, that is if they perform well, to enter the university in the next academic year.
Like, we are wrapping up, so just some few takeaways here, or a few questions we need to clear them. So BECE marking is ongoing?
Yeah, BECE marking is ongoing, yes.
And when are you hoping to finish it?
Tentatively, we are looking at the first weekend of October. And normally we give ourselves a grace period of 7 days. And so I would say that marginally, if we are looking at the period, then probably by the middle of October, the BECE results should be out.
And then you have all the financial commitment from government fulfilled?
Thanks be to God, we have the financial support, so we are going to be able to pay all our examiners. We are going to be able to pay, as I speak, plans are far advanced to pay the invigilators and the supervisors who
for the BECE
for us, yes. And now also we have money to pay our examiners when they finish marking the BECE.
Okay, so for WASSCE, now that the exam is over, the next step is to do the investigation.
So for us, what we are going to do next is to control. Now, control simply means that we are going to look at the scripts that have come to us against the number that registered. And then when we finish, we swap them across the country for marking. So it is in the course of marking that we do what we call scrutiny. Then we'll pick out the ones that, for whom we receive reports of infractions, and then, we will take a look at them. Appropriate committees will sit on those cases and then come out with appropriate sanctions.
So will the students and invigilators have a chance to defend themselves?
Oh yes, we have had situations where our officers have gone across the country at the regional capitals. We've sent SMS messages. We have their phone numbers. We send messages for them to come and indicate, tell us what happened, because this is what we have found out. What do you say to whatever it is that we have found out? A number of them have come. In some of the situations, some have actually come out to tell us that, hey, it was our teacher, so and so, who came and dictated the answers to us. Yeah. Okay. So they have the opportunity to answer. But with the invigilators, they are with the police. They are going to go to court.
Yeah, that's a matter of
evidence. So that one,
they have to go and defend themselves in court.
Absolutely, yes.
Before you go, your final words to our viewers.
So I just want to appeal to our parents, all stakeholders. We indicated that all stakeholders who are culpable. So we are not leaving ourselves out. If in the course of our investigation, anybody from the council is found guilty, you will have yourself to blame. And then we also want to tell the general public that we are coming out with the PC1. That's also one of the private candidates examinations come February, March next year, so that those who may not get the appropriate grades to enter university can register and see those examinations and ensure that they write better, get better grades, and be able to enter the university. They are not left at home for an extra year.
All right. Mr. John Kapi is the head of public relations with the West African Examination Council. Thank you so much, sir, for coming to you, and you have a good weekend.
Thank you very much. I wish you the same.
All right. Let's stay in matters relating to education, because the Technical University Seniors Administrators Association of Ghana, TUSAAG, has withdrawn their services across all technical universities in the country. The group is protesting unresolved concerns regarding the government's failure to meet its obligations under the collective bargaining agreement and to implement revised allowances for senior public university members. Joining us now is the local chairperson of the Bolgatanga Technical University chapter of TUSAAG, Stanley Abopam. Mr. Abopam, good afternoon and welcome. So walk us through your demands.
Our demand is simple. On the 10th of July this year, TUSAAG entered into an agreement with government through the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission after negotiations for the application of some allowances to our members. It was signed by the Director for Fair Wages and Salaries Commission in Invigilator and witnessed by Sandra Amo of GTEC. On our side, we did the negotiation with our colleagues in the traditional universities known as GAWA, the Ghana Association of University Administrators. And in that negotiation, we had agreed with government tentatively that we will be paid some allowances, fuel allowance, off-campus allowance, electricity allowance, vehicle maintenance allowance, and then sanitation allowance. Now, having signed this agreement in July, it was our fair contemplation that government will implement the signed agreement to our CBA, our collective bargaining agreement, in August. Unfortunately, in August, that did not happen. And this is September. Our understanding, what we are hearing from our validators, is that same hasn't been paid entirely. And we think that that is unacceptable, that is unfair. if you look at the administrative architecture of tertiary education in Ghana, you realize that we have 4 classes of workers. We have the senior members academic.
Right.
They are primarily the teaching staff. Then we have senior members administration or non-academic. And they are primarily those who are in the offices managing the affairs of the university. Then we have the senior staff and then the junior staff. Now, these allowances we are talking about have been applied to the senior staff, have been applied to the senior members, non-academic, and we do not understand why, reasonably, government will be dragging its feet in applying same to us. We are in the same working environment, the same institution, so to speak. And then you have this kind of systematic and progressive discrimination against TUSAAG and by extension against GAWA in the traditional universities. We find that unacceptable, and it is for this reason that we have declared this indefinite legal strike.
So you think that you have been treated unfairly, you have been discriminated upon?
Exactly, yes. We have been discriminated upon.
And but you also know that the traditional universities, your members in that same category are also on strike, virtually on the same matters.
Now, Elton, we did the negotiations together because we are the same class of workers. We negotiated together. We were at fair wages together. We had representatives from the Ministry of Education, representative from the Ministry of Labor, representative from the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. Everybody was there. So we did this negotiation together. In fact, we should have gone on strike at the same time. Unfortunately for TUSAAG, GAWA had an existing protocol for which they could have activated their strike without following the legal requirement of notifying the National Labour Commission for the prescribed number of days. We didn't have that protocol.
Right.
And so that's how come GAWA went on strike ahead of us. But this affects all of us in both the traditional universities and in the technical universities.
Forgive me, did you mention sanitation allowance?
Yes, I did.
And what is it about?
Now, government, during our negotiation, came to understanding that, look, it is primarily our responsibility to ensure that we keep our environment very clean. And so in keeping our environment very clean, the understanding was that let's support the university workers with an allowance. It's already existing. Some other category of staff within the university structure are already taking it. It's not a new thing. So support us so that we can deal with our environmental issues. And that was agreed as part of the addendum attached to our CBA.
Okay, and then vehicle allowance, is it for everybody or only those with vehicles?
No, so we have it's not vehicle, it is vehicle maintenance allowance.
Okay.
And it's applicable to only those who have vehicles and use those vehicles in the exercise of their duties as employees of the university. So if you have a vehicle that you use for your job, government is to assist you to maintain that vehicle for the purpose of using it for the job at the university.
And since you embarked on this strike, it started today, have you had any overtures from Fair Wages, Labour Commission or government to have a sit down with you to resolve this and pass?
Not as we are aware as of now.
And so to what extent would this have effect on the running of the technical universities because of the work you do?
Elton, if you realize, most of the universities have begun postponing their opening date. I don't know whether you are aware of that.
Yes, of course. Almost all the traditional universities.
Exactly. And similarly, it will happen in the traditional university. As we speak, our monitoring team reports from the whole country that all the technical universities are shut down. When I say shut down, I mean completely shut down. Now, the TUSAAG members are members from JAR, that is Junior Assistant Registrar, to the directors, even including the registrars and directors of finance. But by virtue of their positions, they don't go on strike, but they are all members. So it means that we are the interface between the apex management authority of the university and then the operational staff. In our absence, everything runs to a halt, and that is exactly what is happening. So if you go to Legon, if you go to Accra Technical University, if you go to any technical university or traditional university, you realize that the absence of TUSAAG particularly, and that of GAWA, has shut down the universities completely.
We have 71 days to election. Perhaps they provide, nice grounds to make the demand, isn't it?
Well, it's not about elections. It is about the pain that we are feeling. Whether it's 71 days to elections or not, that will not reflect in our paycheck. Our issue now is that what is good for the GE settlement should be good for the Ganda. If we're in the same working environment and our colleagues in other working classes are enjoying this, you have no reason morally to deny us. And that is just our claim. Once it is legitimate, once it is legal, it is legal. Once we have negotiated and signed for it, we do think that it doesn't lie within the powers that be to now deny us. We think that that is unfair and that is very irregular.
So when exactly were you expecting students to be back on campus?
For the technical university, we're expecting students to be back on campus by November. But given what is happening, we do not actually know.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. TUSAAG members, they started a strike action over unresolved demands around fuel, electricity, vehicle maintenance, and sanitation allowance. The claim is that their counterparts in the traditional universities have been paid, and they feel that this is a clear case of discrimination and unfairness in the application or the delivery of this demand. This is the pause here on Joy News. We'll take a short break. On return, we'll talk about the Economic Fighters League and their call for the release of the Democracy Hub members, 54 of them, that are now serving 2 weeks incarceration in either police or prison cells. We'll have the details for you, and also talk about erectile dysfunction, a discussion we started last week, but because of the Electoral Commission balloting for position on the ballot paper, we couldn't complete it. We'll finish it today when we return. Stay right there. We are back on the show. This is the pulse here on Joy News. Now, let's move to another matter that will not go away anytime soon. The Economic Fighters League, Arusha Ghana, and Democracy Hub have jointly condemned the arrest of around 50 Democracy Hub protesters and are demanding their immediate release. Speaking on behalf of the group at a news conference today, Democracy Hub member Hadi Yakubu criticized the actions of the police and the call, stating that they violate the protesters' rights.
We in Africa's Rising, Economic Fighters League, Democracy Hub, Arusha Ghana, and the legal team of the protesters condemn in the strongest possible terms these violations of human rights by the Ghanaian state, the unlawful detention of youth, minors, pregnant women, and elderly citizens in inhumane conditions is not only a failure of governance, but a profound betrayal of the promises made to our people under the African Charter on Human and People's Rights and the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, to which Ghana is a signatory. We demand the immediate and unconditional release of all patriots who have been unjustly detained, including those who have been remanded purportedly by a court of competent jurisdiction, whose competence is goes as far as the dictates of the status quo.
Well, as you may be aware, the Ghana Police Service is rejecting claims a pregnant woman was part of the 52 protesters remanded for 2 weeks. The woman, Gloria Vera Louisa, was reportedly said to be 4 months pregnant at the time of her arrest and subsequent remand. This assertion sparked significant concern among human rights activists and members of the public who called for the immediate release of Gloria Louisa. But the police insists she's not pregnant. Here are, extras of a statement by the Ghana Police, and that's what you have. They say following the arrest, the attention of the Ghana Police Service was drawn to a report suggesting that a 12-year-old child, a 68-year-old woman, and a pregnant woman were among those arrested and detained. I would like to state that all these are false. We therefore urge the public to disregard these reports and treat them with the contempt they deserve. They go on to explain that in the case of the 12-year-old child and the 68-year-old woman, in the course of the arrest, police realized that one of the suspects, Grace Asantewa, a 50-year-old woman who is being reported as a 68-year-old, had a child with her. In order not to separate the child from the woman, the child was allowed to accompany her to the police station. And at the police station, police provided the child with food, and for the sake of the child, her guardian, Grace Asantua, was granted a police inquiry bail and allowed to go home with the child. The police has charged Grace Asantua with the offense of exposing a child to danger by bringing her to the demonstration grounds contrary to Section 71 of the Criminal Offences Act 1960. And so they say they would like to use the opportunity to advise members of the public to be mindful of involving children in activities that have the potential to expose them to danger. So let me get the reaction of the police now. Member, join us via Zoom. It's a member of lawyers or legal practitioners that are defending those that have been incarcerated for protest defense. Noah Adamtey. Noah, good afternoon and welcome to the Pulse.
And thank you for having me.
And I guess you've had time to peruse the police statement. Your initial reaction?
Yeah, so I have looked at the statements by the police, and I am surprised at some of the allegations that have been made by the police, especially concerning the lady who said she was pregnant. Mm-hmm. Now, my concern is that at the time of her arrest, the lady informed the police, that's when she was sent to the police station, that she was pregnant. And this was somewhere around Sunday. Mm. On Monday, which was a holiday, she was still in custody. On Tuesday, she was still in custody until she was brought to court for the arraignment. At the time of her arraignment, she had not had any conference with any lawyer. Mm. She had not spoken to her relatives. And so the only people who knew the statement by the young lady that she was pregnant was the police.
Right.
And the police failed to mention to the court that the woman is saying that she is pregnant. Mm. Not to say that actually she was pregnant, because the police had Sunday evening, Monday morning, Monday afternoon, Monday evening, to at least conduct a test when they knew the lady was saying she was pregnant. But the police failed to do so. They brought her to court when she had not spoken to any lawyer, and because the lawyers could not also inform the court that the lady was pregnant, because we couldn't have known. Then when the relatives of the young lady now came out to say she is pregnant, the police still did not even do anything about that until she started bleeding at the police station. When her bleeding was reported, and comments started flowing on social media, and the police now come to tell us the next morning that they have conducted tests at the police hospital and at an independent facility. And so we should believe that same police that failed to disclose a statement that she was pregnant, that the lady is actually not pregnant. The police should allow her relatives to take her to a different facility to test whether or not she is pregnant. And it shows clearly that the police goal here is not to do justice, because if it was to do justice, when she reported she was pregnant, you should have taken the steps to bring it before the court. But what would have happened? The court would have said that she should be granted bail or should be taken to a facility for the test to be made. They did not want that to happen. They did not want anyone released on bail. So they hid that statement from the court, knowing it was not known to the lawyers at that time. And it is only when it comes out in the public domain through her relatives and the issue of she bleeding when in the hands of the police comes up, then you come to tell the citizens of Ghana that you've conducted tests and that she's not pregnant.
Well, no, let me come in here. What about during the process that the lady was in the custody of the police before she was taken to court? Is it your understanding that at no point did she meet with her legal counsel?
No, she never met with any lawyer. And not just her. Of all the protesters that were arrested, none was allowed access to their lawyers. And when because I personally went to the regional headquarters of the police in Accra when we got the information that some protesters had been arrested. And when I got there, the entrance to the regional police headquarters was locked. And the lawyers there, whose names I don't want to disclose, informed me personally that an order from above is that they should not allow anyone, neither lawyers nor relatives of the persons, to have any access to them.
But
so the police never allowed their right to counsel when they were brought to the police station.
But that would be an abuse of their rights to their counsel, and that the police says that it never happened. But in court, was the lady represented by any lawyer?
Yes, she was represented by a lawyer, and that was myself and some other lawyers. And we informed the court that we have not had any form of conference with the young lady and the other persons that were brought before the court, especially when we were presenting to the court the grounds for her to be granted bail. Because in our opinion, she has a right to be afforded the facilities to provide a good defense.
Even before you were seeing her for the first time, she didn't tell you that this is the state that I'm in, I'm pregnant, and can you make an application before the judge so that maybe something could be done for my case?
No.
Why?
She couldn't tell us, because the manner in which they are brought to court, and I'm sure your correspondents have been in court and they will see, the manner in which they are brought to court, they are brought handcuffed, sat somewhere a little away from their lawyers. And at that time, as lawyers in the court, we do not know the names of these people. We don't even have enough time to be asking them any questions. And we should also take this issue in this context. Again, if you are a person arrested and you have not been allowed anyone to see you, when you come to court and someone walks up to you that I am here to defend you, you will appear a little skeptical.
Right.
Whether this actually is for me,
right,
or is a tool by the state that wants to convict me, to represent me. So we realized that at the initial stages, when most of them were even presented to the courts at their arraignment, they were skeptical in giving their names even to us, because they could not trust at that time, because you've never had conference with them. How can they believe that you are really there for their interest? So it was after their arraignment, and some of them were not, all of them were not granted bail. That is when they realized, upon information from other people, that, oh, these are the lawyers for protest defense who are there to represent all of you. And then the court said that the police should grant us access to them whilst they are in custody. So we also relied on that and informed them that we will visit them in custody, and then we can have conference and see how we can even repeat the bail application before a different court. And as I'm speaking to you, lawyers have been to various police stations, and still they are being denied the access to the persons who have been arrested.
In fact, I got a call from somebody who says that his brother was among those arrested, and even as we speak today, he's yet to know exactly which police station they are holding him. So the way forward here, so in a case, first let's exhaust this issue about the pregnancy. What as legal counsel, what exactly are you demanding? The police have their own narrative. We don't know yet if what they have put out there is the truth. So what will you be demanding? Yes, Noah, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go on.
Okay, I didn't get your question.
So I was asking, in terms of, as we exhaust this conversation around the pregnancy, what will you be demanding? Now the police have given their own narrative as to whether it is the gospel truth or not is yet to be verified. But what will you be demanding as legal representative for this lady?
Yeah, so we demand the court to give an order for the test to be conducted at a different facility under the supervision of the court and not the police. Okay. Because for the human rights abuse that we have detailed since their arrest and the excuses the police has given from that time, we cannot trust any unilateral information that comes from the police. We cannot trust it.
And also this week, we were told that lawyers for some of those arrested, your plan is to move an application for an abridgment of time. I don't know how far you've gone in that direction, and also the application at the Human Rights Court to see if you can get them out of police or prison custody. How far have you gone with that approach?
Yes, so some of the processes are being filed today. I'm sure by now some of the processes have been filed. Yes, others will be filed on Monday. We want to repeat the bail application before the high courts. And especially now that we have had some few minutes with the arrested persons in court, we have had the opportunity to now know the situation, even though not extensively, but we have a better idea of their circumstances. So we want to we want to make bail applications before the High Court, where we would present specific issues and concerns of those specific individuals who have been arrested. For example, there are some people who have shown clearly that the 3 days of the protest, they were nowhere here near the 37 military hospital, so they could not have been part of the protest. And all the offenses that have been charged are offenses that could have been only committed if you were on the protest ground. Okay, so for some of these people, not only could they not have committed the offense, but they are being in custody. It's a clear violation of their rights. And the police knows this, because for someone like Benjamin Ekufodak, who was arrested when he went to visit Oliver Bakabomao at the police station, Benjamin was nowhere near the protest. Yes, Benjamin is one of the conveners of fixed of the Occupy Chilobi protest, but he was nowhere near the place. And all the offenses he's been charged with are offenses that could have only been committed if you had been at 37. So it means the police is using this opportunity, or the state using this opportunity to punish people who have an interest in protest, not necessarily because they engage in illegal acts while the protest was ongoing.
So clearly the time is almost 10 minutes after 4. From the way things stand now, it looks like they will spend the weekend in police custody.
Yes, it looks like that. But the law allows applications to be made so that bail can be held on the weekends, on Saturday. So we will explore that chance also and see if we get the chance to have a judge hear us before Monday. But if not, from Monday we will get to know the time or the day that the court will be available to hear us.
All right, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Noah. He's one of the legal counsels for the Democracy Hub members, and clearly representing the lady. Claim is that she was pregnant. Police says it's not. They are challenging it. We'll see how that will unfold. The National Identification Authority is set to begin issuing Ghana cards to Ghanaians between the ages of 6 and 14 starting October 7, 2024. This new phase of the Ghana card rollout is being undertaken in collaboration with the National Health Insurance Authority. The partnership, according to both entities, aims to ensure that children within this age bracket can have easy access to health benefits under the National Health Insurance Scheme. By linking the Ghana card to NHIS, children will be able to access healthcare services more efficiently, as Ghana card will now serve as both proof of identity and verification for health status. Alfred Gazari is the Deputy Director of Operations at the NHIA.
From the 7th of October, as I mentioned earlier, the authority aims to commence the final phase of the registration for the Ghana card, which is the 6 to 14 years old. And this exercise is being done in collaboration with the National Health Insurance Authority, as we are all aware. Let's go on. I'm on slide 5, and you are already at, yes.
Right, so we apologize for that mix up there. But let's move to some other stories before we bring our health chat. Exactly a year ago, thousands of residents in parts of the eastern and Volta regions were displaced by devastating floods caused by the spillage of the Akosombo Dam. September 2023, the VRA opened the floodgates of the Akosombo Hydro Dam, citing dangerous high water levels that threaten its structural integrity. The spillage destroyed farms, cemeteries, schools, and livelihoods, displacing thousands. 12 months later, many victims remain in makeshift tents with farming activities yet to fully recover. The following report, my colleague Fred Kwame Asari speaks with some of the victims about how the disaster has changed their lives.
10th October 2023 leaves a bitter and unforgettable experience in the lives of residents of Abadiwe Kome in the central town district of the Volta region. The spilled water from the Akosombo and Kpo dams swept through the island community, causing great damage to household facilities. Food crops on hundreds of acres of land perished in the floods. To ensure the safety of the residents, the entire Abadiwe Kome community was evacuated via the river to take refuge in New Bakba. Togbi Sakpiti is the chief of the area.
It's very difficult to talk about it because I've been through a lot. My people went through a lot. But God so be good. It was over. We were not able to, there's no casualty. And I was able to move everybody from the island to the mainland. My house here, I live here with my mom and my 2 siblings. We are 4 here. At the time of the flood, we were here more than 50 to 60 people. And it was something that is very, very terrible. But 1 year on, we are surviving, though life has been very, very difficult. But we are surviving.
Several households were destroyed by the floods, rendering hundreds of residents homeless. These poor rural dwellers did not have the opportunity to salvage any of their belongings, losing virtually everything to the floods. Some of the victims narrated their ordeals. One year on, the residents decided to move back to Abadiwe Kome to attempt to have their livelihoods restored. The flood also led to migration, where most of the victims moved to Yeji and other parts of the country for greener pastures. It dealt education in the community a heavy blow, destroying mud structures that previously housed the pupils. The headmaster of the basic school narrated how they are coping with the situation.
Where we started from. When we came back, we realized that no, things are not in place. But God so good, the UNICEF came to our aid by giving us some tents because we started our first year, that is the JSS, first year before the flood came. So the mass structure that we put up has all collapsed. So they are able to give us some tents which we are using to accommodate them for their classes. So as we are in the second year of our junior high, they are also able to give us another tent, which we are still using. You can see it here as our second classroom for our junior high.
The pupils did not only lose their educational materials, but were traumatized.
When we came back from where we went the last time, we were not able to learn again. Sometimes I would be dreaming bad dreams, and like when I'm there, I feel like going into the water. And all sort of things. I don't know what happened to me. But first, it was not happening to me.
The floods also wreaked havoc in Mepe, Pato, and other parts of the North Town district, where the National Disaster Management Organization reported that about 12,000 persons were affected. God.
Right, so this is a year ago. So what is the situation now? Let me bring in the Bankralo of Bato, Tobi Zavi Bobozi. Tobi, you're welcome to the pause. Tell me, is the situation any better? And Tobi, if you can unmute for me. Right. So clearly, we are not getting his attention. I'm told that the challenge there with network connection is not the best. Let me try again. Toby, can you hear me? All right. So clearly, he cannot hear me. But it is a story that we will be running in the days to follow. 1 year after the Akosombo Dam spillage, and I mean what we are all in for. So let's now get to our health segments. And last week we started a very important conversation on the condition that occur in men, erectile dysfunction. Erectile dysfunction, as you may be aware, can have both physical and psychological effects on men that experience it, causing stress, relationship strain, and low self-confidence. But what do you want to know, and what must you know? What are some of the signs you need to look out for? Now, in the studio this afternoon, of course, is Dr. Josephine Awuchi-Kwenu, Head of Clinical Services at the Punitive Medical Center. Doctor, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And last week, maybe we can start by refreshing our memory on what really erectile dysfunction is about and the possible causes.
Okay, so last week we spoke about what it is, and we said that it is the recurrent inability to attain and or maintain a good erection, penile erection for satisfactory sexual intercourse. Okay, so some of them will not be able to attain erection at all. Some would probably attain it but not sustain it over a good or satisfactory period to engage in proper intercourse. So if you have something like that, then we say you have an erectile dysfunction.
Has that in relationship with impotency?
It is also known as impotence.
Okay.
I mean, the other name for erectile dysfunction is impotence.
Wow.
And last week we spoke about the difference between impotence and infertility.
Perhaps you can refresh our memory on that as well.
Yes, so the impotence is erectile dysfunction, as we've already spoken about. The infertility, you can, be able to engage in the act, but not fertile enough, not have good enough sperms in order to, impregnate someone. Okay, so that means you are infertile. You are potent, but you are not fertile.
But is there a correlation between the two?
Not necessarily, because you see the sperms, being infertile has to do with your sperms. Okay, so how producing the right amount of sperm, the semen, how good they are and all that, the quality and everything associated with it. But when it comes to the impotence, about you being able to have an erection, engage in the act. Okay. Mainly.
All right. So, and what are some of the causes of this? Last week you told us about age being a factor.
Yes.
And what age should one be worried, or should one be concerned about her, erectile status?
We spoke about the fact that by the age of 40, after the age of 40, that's when we realize that most people start having this issue of erectile dysfunction. The main reason is, you see, underlying erectile dysfunction is a lot of health conditions.
Right.
So most of the time, we can categorize this into two main categories. We have the psychogenic causes and organic causes. So the psychogenic is more about your psyche. When we say the psyche, it's more psychological. Okay, so some people may not be able to engage in it because of performance anxiety.
Thinking that he may not be able to perform.
Maybe they had one episode that didn't go well, and it always has this, and maybe it wouldn't happen again. Like maybe it would happen again, will not be able to perform again. So that anxiety would actually cause you not to perform well. Some of them have this widowhood effect. Maybe somebody engaged, maybe was married or was in a very good relationship and then lost the partner.
And it's affected the person.
It has affected the person. So maybe when they engage, they meet somebody else, they can't engage in it. Sometimes it's stress, sometimes it's anxiety, sometimes depression. So all these psychological issues can also affect it. Sometimes there are some men that they can attest to the fact that when they are very stressed at work, they can't really perform because it really affects your psyche. So those are the psychological causes of it. So especially the younger men, usually when they have erectile dysfunction, it's more psychological than organic, although people have both of them occurring at the same time. But there are lots of medical condition that makes people get erectile dysfunction.
Okay.
So my main concern is the fact that although you may have an erectile dysfunction, it may be due to some medical condition you have.
And not because of stress or the other matters
not
that you
because
spoke
of
about.
that. Maybe because you have an underlying condition.
Like what?
Hypertension.
Okay.
Diabetes. Okay, so the thing about erectile dysfunction is, you see, it starts from your brain, then it comes down to your vessels on your nerves. So anything that affects your blood vessels can cause erectile dysfunction. Anything that can affect your nerves can cause it. Your brain can cause it. So if you have stroke, it can make it get. If you have any surgery going on around your pelvic region, it can cause erectile dysfunction.
Meaning what? The blood is not flowing well?
So you see, for you to have an adequate erection, you need blood flow into your penis. So it's a whole anatomy that maybe we can talk about at another time.
Sure.
So any condition that affects your blood vessels, so anything that can cause stroke, that can cause heart attack, can cause erectile dysfunction. Because whatever changes that is occurring in your heart or in your brain can occur down there. So most of the time, it can even be a risk factor. The fact that you're having this condition, it can even be that if you don't treat it, you can have, worse condition later. So diabetes is a culprit, hypertension, obesity, tobacco use, alcohol. Abusing alcohol can cause that. Tobacco can cause it. Cholesterol issues, dyslipidemia, it can all cause erectile dysfunction. Okay, medications, all of these things can cause erectile.
So for alcohol, for example, is it your suggestion that perhaps for men who are listening, they should quit it completely?
So usually when it comes to alcohol, it's about consuming at the right quantities. There are certain let's say quantities based on what you are drinking, whether it is spirits or it is beer. You shouldn't go beyond a certain limit in a day or in a week. So when you abuse it, that is where all these conditions happen. When you abuse alcohol, aside erectile dysfunction, you can have liver conditions, all other conditions, and they can also cause erectile.
But then how then do you advise? How then do you talk to men that resort to the taking of alcohol to enable them perform well?
Asking somebody to quit completely is also a big challenge. Okay, so it's about drinking sparingly and wisely.
Some men feel that it helps them, it helps put them in the mood, it helps them perform well, and you say that they may be, the side effect may rather be the opposite of what you are intending it to do for you.
You don't need to abuse alcohol to perform well. Sometimes puts you in the mood, makes you feel elated, but you don't need the abusive quantity, a large quantity of alcohol. You don't have to binge in order to get yourself there. Okay, something very, maybe one shot, I don't know much about these things, just to put you in the mood is okay. And it shouldn't be a habitual thing you are doing all the time, because we should know that aside the erectile dysfunction, abusing alcohol has its own,
of course,
yes,
so for our fathers that we grew up watching them take a beer every day, one bottle of beer, and then some of them had multiple wives. They were still giving birth at age 50 and 60 and the likes. And I come back to my question about whether, as a man, you should consider cutting alcohol out of your life completely, or moderation should be the word.
Like I was saying, not completely, but in moderation. You were saying one bottle of beer, that is acceptable. But you see, there are lots of people who drink a lot. At a go, you see a lot of bottles, and then some people taking a lot of shots of spirits and things like that. So when you add the units of alcohol,
some have actually died in the process of the alcohol helping them to perform. Somebody's asking about energy drinks.
So it depends on what is in that energy drink. Okay, because we know that, you see, taking tobacco and all that, smoking is all related to erectile dysfunction. So it depends on what is in it, and you're not abusing it. So the catchword is doing things within an acceptable, range or rate.
Okay.
It's not abusing things. Yes.
So, when we started and we spoke about age, you took us to age 40 and above, and you said that you should, when you get to that age, those things are opportunistic things that obviously will happen to your body. Now, we know that because of the awareness on cardiovascular disease, we understand that young people are getting stroke here and there, sometimes even in their 20s, in their 30s. And so for such people in that category, knowing very well that stroke or having high blood pressure could be a factor, is it safe to say that perhaps we should look at people from that category as well, so be mindful of the effect of such on the overall development?
Like I was saying, most of the time, people with erectile dysfunction have an underlying disease. Okay, so my take is, when you have an issue like that, instead of assuming that it is because you are aging and because it happens to men, so you're just going to buy medication and do it. I think you should go and see your doctor. And then let them find out if you have someone, because it could be a sign that maybe you are developing hypertension.
Right.
Then later on, you realize that you get a stroke. Maybe this was the sign that could have helped you diagnose your hypertension and treat it. So the point, you should go and see, although it's difficult to talk about it, so that they can investigate thoroughly, so that if you have any underlying condition, it can be managed. For somebody with diabetes, for instance, although diabetes is a bad culprit,
right,
when you are able to control your sugar level, have a good glycemic control, you won't suffer these consequences. Meanwhile, you wouldn't know you have diabetes, or probably you have diabetes, but you don't know that that is what is causing it. If you go to the hospital and then you manage your diabetes, then you would be able to, you know, solve your issue with erectile dysfunction instead of just going to buy medication. Because a lot of people are just going to buy medication to help them perform better, ignoring the fact that it could be that there is something happening, and then later, years down the line, they'll get a stroke, they'll get a heart attack, and they'll get other conditions.
And the unfortunate thing is that a lot of people are walking around not knowing the state of their health.
Exactly.
Whether they have high BP and then something happens and then, oh, it was just fine, then this just happened.
And they just go buy medications over the counter to help them perform better because they have this issue.
Can erectile dysfunction be reversed?
Yes, it depends on the underlying cause, like I was saying. So sometimes lifestyle modification, let's say you start taking your, medication, controlling your sugar, you start losing weight because you are too obese, which can also cause erectile dysfunction, maybe you cut down on smoking. If you're able to handle those issues, then you can start reversing some of the processes that happen. Sometimes medications, some antihypertensives, some medications for prostate, medication for depression, and all these things can cause erectile dysfunction.
Yeah, because the claim is that even some of the medication that is prescribed for people with BP, the side effect is that it affects their erection.
Exactly, and people with prostate issues,
people who are on such medication.
Yes.
Is there any remedy for them?
Yeah, because we have different categories of antihypertensives. That is why it is good to engage your doctor. Get a good doctor that you can really talk to. Because you see, they are different. You might react to it. Somebody else might not react to it. Now, a doctor has put you on this antihypertensive. We want you to achieve your get a good control of your blood pressure, but we don't want to put you at risk of other things as well. So when you come and tell your doctor that, doc, since I started this medication, this is what I've noticed, the doctor will change the medication. Okay. Because we have other categories of medication that will not cause that side effect, so they will switch for you. So you just have to go back to your doctor and tell your doctor about what you experience, and your medications can be switched.
Is it possible for a man, the Bible prescribes 70, and above 70, that one is the grace of God. But is it possible for a man throughout his lifetime to maintain his erection throughout? Is it possible? Is it scientifically possible?
It is. We have old men who are performing very well. Old men who are impregnating young women, and so yes, we have people doing that. And you see, aside when we talk about remedies for erectile dysfunction, we realize that we have so many ways of getting people to have an erection and engage in their sexual activities. So because of that, we have people who are really interested in engaging in sex. We know old men who have died in the act of sex.
Of course.
All that. Yes, so it happens.
And then few issues before we wrap up. So there are also men who are also resorting to herbal medicine. They heard it on radio, somebody spoke to them about it, and then they are using it without subjecting it to any scientific proof. And then there are also over-the-counter medication that people use to help them stay fit and then to go about that. What would be your advice to such individuals?
Okay, so we actually have medications that we use, to treat such conditions. I know that most of the over-the-counter drugs have components of these medications. And then some of these herbal preparations actually have components of these, Viagra and things.
Right.
Some of them actually put it in the herbal preparation in order to help people. So you realize that most of these over-the-counter drugs have some of these medication. But you see, it is very dangerous because some people, there's a lot of imitation on the market, and some have additives. Some of these same herbal medication. I don't like talking about herbal things a lot because since I don't know the components in the medication, I rather want to stay away from it. So maybe they have put a medication that works, but then there are other components of the herbs that you are also not aware. And maybe you have a kidney condition, maybe you have a liver condition, you don't know. And then whilst something is working somewhere, something may be getting ruined somewhere. So it is best you know what you are taking. That is why you should see your doctor and get a prescription, know exactly what your issue is, and deal with it accordingly.
So 2 quick issues: the lifestyle change that one must adopt, exercise, and maybe the kind of food to eat. Is there any advice around that area too?
So usually when it comes to the lifestyle, what we want to attain is good sugar control, so that we don't have high blood sugar, because diabetes...
Meaning you should stop taking in sugar?
Not necessarily. If you are diabetic, you should see a dietitian and eat such that you achieve good glycemic control. Hypertension, so it's about carbs, cutting down your carbs, because your cholesterol level plays a very significant role. You know, your arteries, because of the blood flow that is required for your erection, anything that destroys the lining or blocks it can cause erectile dysfunction. So the high cholesterol level in your blood and all that really causes erectile dysfunction. So you cut down on carbs, you cut down on junk, you know, high cholesterol, you know, laden food and all that. You have to exercise, because obesity too is a culprit. So you have to get the right, you know, body weight and all that. So when it comes to lifestyle, cutting down alcohol, stopping smoking, losing weight, exercising, making sure your blood pressures are controlled, your sugar levels are controlled, very important for erectile.
And then how do you also deal with the psychological, you know, effects of this subject?
The psychological effects, your partner, is best your partner is involved, okay? And usually you see your psychologists, you know, or psychiatrists, so that you can go through therapy. Sometimes you may need medication, sometimes you can go to therapy. Some will require stress management, some will require medications for depression, some will require just counseling. So you have to see a doctor, and then later the doctor will let you see a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and that aspect can be handled as well. It is very important that when you're handling this issue, especially for them, engage your partner, because when your partner understands the situation, it's best for the both of you.
Just in your final words as we take leave of us.
Okay, so I would like to say that erectile dysfunction is very common. Lots of men are suffering from it. And there are lots of conditions that can cause it. Just don't rush to the pharmacy to get a pill or some herbal concoction in order to make you perform better. Go see your doctor. Find out if there is something that is causing it, so that you can be managed for it. If not, in future, that same thing will cause complications somewhere, either in your heart or in your brain or something else. That wouldn't be good. Please take care of yourself and stay healthy.
All right, Dr. Josephine Awochukwueno is our in-house doctor, if you like. So she's on the show every Friday at 4:15 on our Health Beat on the Pause. Before we go, let me just excite your mood for the weekend, because the countdown is on. The race to the Jubilee House is getting heated, but not without some humor. Prince Kwame Kuduga chronicles some of the light moments on the campaign trail.
Last week, the Electoral Commission released a list of political parties and independent candidates who are qualified to be on the ballot paper for the December 7th election. But how did disqualified aspirants receive the news? Here's flag bearer of the People's National Convention, Bernard Mona.
As somebody who was driving a VIP bus, upon hearing the news, you know what happened?
You tell me.
He skipped the road. And almost caused a calamity for all of us in this nation.
Because of your disqualification?
Because of the disqualification. As I speak to you, my uncle, upon hearing the news, has not spoken since morning.
The Progressive People's Party, PPP, also did not take this lightly. Nanao Foriousu is the national chairman of the party.
We feel we have been bamboozled. We have been mistreated.
So
the Electoral Commission has acted unlike how they have been set up to act, and they have used their powers capriciously. We are definitely going to court, my brother, and I guarantee you, we will be on the ballot for this election in 2024.
Right after the balloting at the Electoral Commission, political parties began marketing the positions with songs and slogans. For the NPP, Dennis Miracles Abuaje is Director of Communication for Dr. Baumia's campaign.
Oye no mawano, oye no mawano, to abamano. You understand? Say wokako to abana, share dia odikai. Yodi kane Dr. Baumia to Abamano. So I mean it's very simple and straightforward.
But the NDC had a swift response. Mustafa Bande is a Deputy General Secretary.
The first shall be the last. That the builder build in vain if God hasn't built. and that the number 8 means that the 8 stops right where it is today. The 8 shall not be broken. That 8 will be a weapon to liberate the people of Ghana.
The campaigns have seen a lot of promises from all sides, but independent presidential candidate Joachim Brahma seemed to have a super promise.
I'm coming up with a four-day work week. Monday, Thursday we will work, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday we are off. That's what I call work and happiness. So this gives everybody the time to do their own work, their own enterprise. You have Friday off, you have Saturday off, you have Sunday off. And also, we can bank all the holidays to Friday if need be, and this will save us all the problems. So these are what I'm saying.
Let's like more of enjoyment for Ghanaians. Oh.
Work and happiness is what I call it. Right. So every Friday is our day.
With just 71 days to the general elections, and as the various campaigns crisscross the country, we will continue to share with you these light moments. It is not all heated on the grounds. Prince Kwame Kudoge's report for Joy News.
And that's our show for today, Friday. Hopefully we'll be back on Monday with another exciting edition. Whatever you are up to this weekend, I hope it's profitable. There's more stories on myjoyonline.com. And of course, my name is Elton Brobe. Have a good weekend. Take care. See you on Monday with another exciting edition of The Pulse. Have a good evening.